Even medicine acknowledges that diabetes is a lifestyle disease. Am I talking about type 1 diabetes or type 2 diabetes? I find that the same conditions all respond to, whether it be type 1 or type 2. It's basically a pancreas is not working well. And so if the pancreas is not working well, we need to go to our 3-letter word and find out why.
Hello and welcome back. I'm Barbara O'Neill, and today we're going to talk about a part of your body that doesn't always get the attention it deserves, your pancreas. The pancreas plays a key role in regulating blood sugar and aiding digestion, but many people don't realise how everyday habits can damage it over time. For those of you over 40, it's important to know that nearly 1 in 10 adults suffer from some form of pancreatic dysfunction, which can lead to serious issues like diabetes or digestive problems. The good news is that it's possible to heal your pancreas and stop the damage. In this video, we'll cover the steps you can take to support and restore your pancreas. We'll discuss which foods and lifestyle changes can help heal it and what to avoid to prevent further damage. As a thank you for joining me today, we're giving away 100 free copies of my best-selling book to subscribers. So if you haven't yet, hit subscribe, like this video, and comment why you want to win.
But what happens when a 7-year-old girl has diabetes? She hasn't been on the planet long enough to be giving the body the conditions that would wear out a pancreas. So then we need to go back and look at parents and even grandparents. We had a 9-year-old girl do our program. She had diabetes. And of course, as a child, it's considered type 1 diabetes. And also medicine considers that type 1 diabetes cannot be reversed. Yep. But type 2 can be reversed. So I began to investigate, and the little girl had been vaccinated. And I have seen a few children develop diabetes after vaccination. But there are many children who are vaccinated, but they don't have diabetes. It's one of the factors. And there are many factors that can come together to create a certain condition. And then I consulted with her mother, because her mother was doing the program too. And her mother was very, very large. Her mother was only as tall as me, but she was about 3 times my size. And as I'm consulting with her, she was telling me her lifestyle and what she did, and nothing terribly remarkable. Then the little girl said, "Mum, tell her." And the mother looked a little embarrassed. And the little girl said, "Mum, you got to tell her." And the mother looked very embarrassed again. So the little girl said, "She eats a bag of candies a day." A bag of candies. We call them lollies. Do you call them candies?
Yes.
They're sort of sweet things. They're sugar. And people suck on them, apparently. Lollipops. Do you call them lollipops? The ones stick. How can I say to that mother that years and years and years of eating so much sugar has worn her pancreas out to the point that it has compromised her pancreatic DNA, and she's given a compromised pancreatic DNA to her child?
This can happen because lifestyle and dietary habits have a significant influence on our health, even at the genetic level. Over time, consuming excessive amounts of sugar can cause the pancreas to work harder than normal to produce insulin, the hormone responsible for regulating blood sugar levels. If the pancreas is constantly overworked, its function can become compromised, and this can lead to diabetes, specifically type 2 diabetes. In extreme cases, it may also result in permanent damage, which affects the DNA in the pancreas. When a person with compromised pancreatic DNA has children, the child may inherit a predisposition to weakened pancreatic function. In other words, if the pancreas of the parent is damaged due to lifestyle choices, the child may be born with a genetic disadvantage. This doesn't mean the child is destined to develop diabetes, but it means they are more susceptible to conditions that might trigger it, such as an unhealthy diet or lack of physical activity. In the case of the mother and daughter mentioned earlier, the mother's lifelong habit of consuming large amounts of sugar may have contributed to the development of a form of genetic weakness in the pancreas. This weakness, passed down to her daughter, combined with external factors like the child's diet or other environmental triggers, may have led to her developing type 1 diabetes at such a young age. The environment in which a child grows up also plays a critical role. If a child grows up in a household where unhealthy eating habits are common, they are more likely to adopt the same habits.
And we're first of all going to go to the CBD, the Central Business District of the human body, which is the inside workings of the cell. The glucose goes in, it goes through a 20-step pathway. How does the glucose get into the body? Here's our pancreas, and our pancreas releases hormones that balance our blood glucose levels. And one hormone that's released is insulin. Insulin's the hormone that gets the blood sugar level down. And there's another hormone that the pancreas releases. It's called glucagon. And that's the hormone that gets the blood sugar level up again. So these two hormones are released by the pancreas to balance, maintain our blood glucose levels. And when we're eating food that little by little delivers a constant, steady supply of glucose, we've got a very happy pancreas. A little bit of insulin here, a little bit of glucagon there. That's great. But when we eat food that gets the blood sugar level up very high, very fast, it's almost like the pancreas is getting screamed at, quick, it's too high, release the insulin. High glucose demands high insulin. So the insulin's released, but because so much insulin's released, now the blood sugar level goes too low. And now the brain says, oh no, we're too low, stop the insulin, release the glucagon to get it back up again. But when the person's blood glucose levels go low, it's called hypoglycemia. Person's feeling a bit dizzy. Why? Because the brain cells consume 15 times the glucose of any other cell. And the brain can only hold a 2-minute supply of glucose. Have you noticed when someone puts on weight, their head doesn't get bigger? There's a skull there. Only so much can be stored. So when blood glucose levels drop down, it only takes 2 minutes before brain's not working. I need a hit, I need a lift, I need a pick-me-up. But inside the body, glucagon's being released, but the person's feeling a bit woozy, so they grab for more sugar. Does that get them up? Oh, yes, very fast. But now the whole cycle begins. Oh, no, we're too high. Quick, release it. Oh, no, we're too low. Do you know what eventually happens to pancreases? They just wear out. They're sick of this. I'm against animal abuse, I'm against child abuse, and I'm against pancreatic abuse. But you know, the greatest deception is people are doing it and they don't know they're doing it. Isn't that what deception is? Not as it seems.
This cycle of high and low blood sugar can have serious long-term effects on the body. When the pancreas is constantly overworked trying to balance glucose levels, it can eventually lead to insulin resistance. This means the cells in the body stop responding properly to insulin, so even though the pancreas is producing it, the glucose isn't getting into the cells effectively. As a result, blood sugar levels stay elevated, which can lead to the development of type 2 diabetes. When insulin resistance starts to set in, the pancreas works even harder to produce more insulin. But over time, the pancreas can't keep up with the demand and it becomes exhausted. This can lead to a situation where the body either doesn't produce enough insulin or the insulin that is produced doesn't work well enough to lower blood sugar. At this point, blood sugar levels stay dangerously high, and this can cause a host of other health problems, including damage to the nerves, eyes, kidneys, and heart. What many people don't realise is that these issues can be prevented by maintaining stable blood sugar levels. This means eating a balanced diet that includes foods which provide a slow and steady release of glucose into the bloodstream. Foods that are high in fibre, such as vegetables, whole grains and legumes, can help regulate blood sugar and prevent those rapid spikes and crashes.
So when the glucose goes into the cell, it goes into the cell under the action of insulin. Insulin's the key that unlocks the door to get the glucose in the cell. But on the high carbohydrate, high sugar diet, with so much glucose coming in, the cell basically says, we've already got enough. So insulin resistance begins. You've heard of insulin resistance? Insulin resistance usually is the start of diabetes. Insulin resistance happens. So it resists insulin, so the glucose can't get in, so the glucose is floating through the blood. The brain sees it and starts screaming at the pancreas, more insulin, because that's what it thinks. Look at all the glucose in the blood. We need insulin to get it in the cell, not realising that on the cell wall there's insulin resistance. Can you see the problem? And the pancreas is getting screamed at more and more and more and more and more. And what's the body going to do with all this glucose in the blood? It'll come out in the urine. Diabetes mellitus means sweet urine. It's got to get rid of it some way. So it starts coming out there. Meanwhile, the pancreas is wearing out. And the person starts drinking huge amounts of water. That's one of the first signs, huge amounts of water, because they're losing the glucose in the blood, and there's too much glucose in the blood, and the body realises it's got to water this down, and then this vicious cycle begins. Did you know that there's no mention of diabetes in Hippocrates' writings? And Hippocrates was 400 years BC. So 400 years BC, sugar was not being refined. It was really only when sugar started to be refined in London and only wealthy people could afford the refined sugar that doctors started to see glucose in their wealthy patients' urine, and it was called diabetes mellitus. So let's continue the journey of glucose. It goes through the 20-step pathway. The 20-step pathway gives 2 units of energy. The end result of the 20-step pathway is a chemical form of glucose called pyruvate. And pyruvate, as the chemical form of glucose, gets fed into the next section in the cell. It's the 8-step pathway, and this 8-step pathway gives us an impressive 36 units of energy because of the presence of oxygen. This pathway, no oxygen. What a difference oxygen makes. We looked at that last night. We looked at that a few times. We looked at it in relation to conquering cancer. But now we're looking at the whole cycle of glucose in relation to diabetes. So on this high glucose, high sugar, high carbohydrate diet, so let's define the carbs, and we defined them yesterday. There's your bread and cereal, and how many Americans and Australians woke up to these every morning, and doesn't take you very far, so the cakes, pretzels, donuts, cookies, everything start to come out. And when a child says, I'm hungry, it touches the mother heart because, the mother is the nourisher for the child, and so she often will give and I'll tell you what, it keeps them quiet for a minute. while they're eating it. But that's often where the diabetes begins. Also pizza, pasta, the high carbohydrate foods. And potato is in there too, and I'll show you why in a minute. And then, of course, the pure crystallized acid extracted from the sugarcane plant is the other carb. Many people today are living on the high carbohydrate diet.
A high carbohydrate diet, especially one loaded with refined sugars and processed foods, overwhelms the body with glucose. When you consume large amounts of these foods, your blood glucose levels spike rapidly. To manage this, the pancreas releases insulin to move the glucose into your cells where it can be used for energy. However, when this happens repeatedly, day after day, your cells begin to resist the effects of insulin. This is known as insulin resistance. When insulin resistance sets in, glucose cannot effectively enter the cells, leaving excess glucose circulating in the bloodstream. In response, the pancreas works overtime to produce even more insulin in an attempt to lower blood sugar levels. Over time, this continuous demand exhausts the pancreas. It becomes overworked and starts to lose its ability to produce enough insulin. This is where things become critical. Without enough insulin, glucose builds up in the blood, leading to type 2 diabetes. As the pancreas becomes more damaged, it struggles to keep up with insulin production. This results in chronically high blood sugar levels, which further damages the pancreas and other organs. The body then enters a vicious cycle. Insulin resistance worsens, more glucose accumulates in the blood, and the pancreas continues to break down. Eventually, the pancreas may stop functioning properly, unable to produce sufficient insulin, which is a hallmark of advanced type 2 diabetes. This destruction of the pancreas is irreversible once it reaches a certain point. That's why people who have been consuming a high carbohydrate diet for years may develop severe complications. If not managed, these high glucose levels can damage blood vessels, nerves, kidneys, and other vital organs, further accelerating the onset of other serious health issues.
And that's why when someone comes to a retreat and they're stopping 3 cups of coffee a day, they usually get terrible headaches because there's this sudden change. But to conquer diabetes, the caffeine must stop. Absolutely, the refined sugar must stop. What about honey? What about maple syrup? What about your coconut sugars? When the pancreas isn't working well, you've got to go very light on all sugars until the pancreas starts working well. Probably the only sweet that doesn't really get an insulin response is stevia. And stevia is a plant sweetener. In fact, it's often called the sweet leaf. We used to grow it. And you eat that leaf, it's just so sweet. In fact, my grandchildren after the meal would say, "Grandma, can we go and get a sweet leaf?" And they'd chew on the sweet leaf. And you buy it as a powder, so it's a little bit refined, but it still doesn't have the same effect of sugar. 1/16 of a teaspoon of stevia is equal to 2 teaspoons of sugar. That's incredible, isn't it? And that's hard to believe. So most people use too much and then it gets a bitter aftertaste. So if someone says to me, "I don't like stevia," I say, "You've used too much." Because if you use just the right amount, it's a lovely, delicate sweetener and you do not get that bitter aftertaste.
To promote pancreas health and potentially reverse damage, several lifestyle and dietary changes can be beneficial. Incorporating a balanced diet rich in whole, nutrient-dense foods is crucial. Focus on eating plenty of fruits and vegetables, which are high in fibre, vitamins, and antioxidants. These nutrients help reduce inflammation and support overall health. Leafy greens, berries, and cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and cauliflower are particularly effective at providing the necessary nutrients to support pancreatic function. Choosing lean protein sources is also important. Incorporate options such as fish, chicken, turkey, legumes, and tofu. These foods help build muscle and provide essential amino acids without putting excessive stress on the pancreas. It's advisable to limit red meat and processed meats, as they can increase inflammation and strain pancreatic function. Healthy fats should not be neglected. Opt for sources of unsaturated fats such as avocados, nuts, seeds, and olive oil. These fats can help reduce inflammation and promote heart health, which is especially important since diabetes and heart disease often go hand in hand. Avoid trans fats and limit saturated fats found in fried foods, baked goods, and fatty cuts of meat, as they can worsen inflammation and lead to weight gain. Maintaining a healthy weight is essential for pancreas health. Excess body fat, particularly around the abdomen, can increase the risk of insulin resistance. Engaging in regular physical activity can help manage weight and improve insulin sensitivity. Aim for at least 150 minutes of moderate aerobic exercise per week, such as brisk walking, cycling, or swimming. Strength training exercises are also beneficial as they help build muscle mass, which can improve glucose metabolism and reduce insulin resistance. Hydration is often overlooked, but drinking plenty of water is vital for overall health and can help the pancreas function optimally. Staying hydrated aids in digestion, helps maintain balanced blood sugar levels, and supports kidney function, which is important for filtering excess glucose from the bloodstream. Aim to drink at least 8 glasses of water daily and consider herbal teas as an alternative to sugary beverages. Stress management is another critical aspect of maintaining pancreatic health. Chronic stress can lead to hormonal imbalances, which can worsen insulin resistance. Incorporating stress reduction techniques into your daily routine can help. Practices such as mindfulness, meditation, yoga, and deep breathing exercises can significantly lower stress levels and promote overall well-being. Regular checkups with healthcare professionals are essential for monitoring pancreatic health. Blood sugar levels, lipid profiles, and overall metabolic health should be regularly assessed, especially for individuals at risk for diabetes. Early detection of any issues can allow for timely intervention and management. Avoiding smoking is crucial as it has been linked to pancreatic damage and an increased risk of diabetes. If you smoke, seek help to quit, as numerous resources are available to assist in cessation. Additionally, limiting alcohol consumption can protect the pancreas, as excessive alcohol intake can lead to inflammation and damage. Incorporating probiotics and prebiotics into your diet can also support pancreatic health. Foods rich in probiotics, such as yogurt, kefir, and fermented vegetables, can promote a healthy gut microbiome, which is linked to improved metabolic health. Prebiotic foods like garlic, onions, and bananas nourish beneficial gut bacteria, enhancing digestive health and immune function. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this information helpful in understanding how to heal and protect your pancreas. Remember, small changes in your diet and lifestyle can make a big difference. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more health tips. And as always, take care of your health.